In today's show, we're jumping into Capcut to learn how to edit our wildlife videos. Hey everyone, welcome into Magnolia Photography SC. I'm Jeff House, wildlife photographer in Charleston, South Carolina. And not a fun time to be in South Carolina right now as I am recording this. It is Tuesday, the 21st of January, and we are getting snow here, and it's absolutely disgusting. But at any rate, we have a lot to cover in today's show when it comes to Capcut, so I do want to get right into the video pretty much, but I do want to touch on one quick detail before we jump in and actually take a look at the actual Capcut software. So you probably are very familiar with the news lately that is surrounding the social platform TikTok and how there's a ban going on it. And Sunday morning on the 19th of January, everyone woke up to find out that TikTok was taken down, right? So you couldn't use it. You couldn't access the app on, in any of the app stores if you wanted to download it. And then I sat down to make this video on Capcut. And when I opened Capcut, I got a message that said, Capcut is not available. And panic instantly set in because this is what I do for my wildlife videography, right? This is how I edit my photos. And of course, this is what I wanted to show you guys so that you could also edit your videos with this. And I love this program because it's affordable. Two, it's very intuitive to use, and you can really produce some very professional looking videos without having to go into a real steep learning curve, right? It's not like using programs like Final Cut Pro by Apple or Adobe Premiere. Those are professional video editors. And I actually have Final Cut Pro. They're very professional video editors, but there is a steep learning curve to using them. And all the effects that you can access inside of Capcut would just take you so much longer to learn in those types of softwares, those types of programs. And my fear is that trying to teach something like that or trying to go through something like that and the learning curve that comes with it could be a deterrent. It might cause you to not want to edit your videos or maybe not even do videography for wildlife at all because you don't want to have to deal with the editing part of it. So I want to try to stay away from that. I want to try to make it as easy as possible. So that was my big concern when I saw that Capcut wasn't available. And quite honestly, I didn't know that Capcut would fall under the same umbrella as TikTok, but they are owned by the same company. So that is why that happened. Now, I feel to really be doing you justice and be doing my job as a YouTube creator, I want to make sure it's clear that I think you should try Capcut. I think you should, look into using it. I think it's a good program to use. But I will caution you that we don't know, any of us here in America, how long Capcut will be available. And there is the possibility that in another 60 to 90 days, it might go away. And we don't know how long it might go away. It could be forever. It could be temporarily. These are all the questions that are going through a lot of YouTubers' minds, a lot of video editors' minds right now, because they all use Capcut. So many people are using Capcut. And so there's this whole thing going on with the United States and China and this company, having TikTok, having Capcut, and having other apps. And we're not going to go down that rabbit hole. But the point being here is we really need to look at some other options for video editors because not everyone will necessarily want to stick with Capcut with the fear of it maybe disappearing, coming back, going away, whatever, possibly going away forever. So I understand that, and that may not be the way you want to go, but I think for at least a limited period of time, you could use Capcut to get going and develop some of your video editing skills which will still be beneficial to you because a lot of these skills are transferable to any video editor. But again, I really just wanted to stress that this may not be around for more than 60 or 90 days. They're under an extension right now. And so I don't want you to invest a ton of time if that's not of interest to you. I did start researching a lot of other video editing programs out there because I really wanted to find something that would be a good alternative to Capcut, something that is very similar in how it works, something that provides a lot of the same functions and features. And after extensive research and hours of downloading products and trying them out and testing them, I have come to the conclusion that there is an answer should Capcut go away, or if you don't even want to, get invested at all in Capcut, there is a wonderful, wonderful product. And I am familiar with it because I have used it in the past, very little, but I am revisiting it now. And I think it's actually going to be the video editor that I very possibly I'm going to move to. And it's Wondershare Filmora. And it offers a lot of the same features, and it's set up very similarly. And I really think it's going to be a great alternative to Capcut. So what I would say is this: if you guys are interested in me doing a video on Wondershare Filmora, please let me know that in the comments below so that I can, see if there's any interest in that, any demand for that. And if there is, I will create another show that kind of goes through Wondershare Filmora. But right now, today, I do want to address Capcut for those of you who want to give it a try and jump into the world of video editing. All right, so the first thing that's going to happen when you download Capcut is you're going to open it up and you're going to come to this screen. This is what is referred to as the home page. Now, you will not have any of these thumbnails and information here. These are projects that I have already worked on previously, and it always shows your last project. And what's great is you don't need to actually save anything in Capcut because it does it automatically for you. So if you had no projects here, if you were starting off for the first time, you would click Create Project. But what I'm going to do is I already uploaded some media for this, specific video. So I'm just going to jump into that project already. And so when we come in, this is what it's going to look like. Now, if you were doing a brand new project from scratch, you would not have any of these documents that you see here. These are some videos, some sound effects, and some other information here. I added that. And all you do is when you come in here, there would be a little blue box that says import media. You can either click that and, navigate to the file where your media would be stored, or you can just go to the file and drag and drop it onto the import box, which is what I do. I find that to be the easiest way of doing it. So very easy to add media into Capcut. So that's what you would do here, and that's what that is. So what I want to do, guys, is I want to give you just a general overview first of how Capcut is set up. And then what I want to do is I want to give you the absolute must-know editing tools and processes for editing wildlife videos. Okay, and we're just going to take you from point A to point B real quick. Then what I would like to do is show you how you can do some of the extra editing if you have a need to do that. If you're going to maybe aspire to start a YouTube channel where maybe you share some of your wildlife photography work and maybe do some tips or whatever, or you're going to share these videos online and you want to learn ways that you can make your videos more interesting and more engaging for people on social media, I'm going to show you how you can do some of that as well. So let's jump in and take a quick look at how Capcut is set up. So the first thing is we have this workspace, okay? And we can change how the workspace looks. And this is going to be something that I will just have you, I'll show you how to do it, and then you can do it yourself and see what workspace fits your style best. Now, you may find that once you start working in Capcut and doing some things, you may find another workspace works better for you. It's simple to change, so no need to worry. But what you do is you come up here to the top right next to this shortcuts tab, there's a little box here with windows, and you click the down arrow And there's different choices here for you to choose from in setting up your workspace. Now, I have it on the attributes. And the reason I do that is because I like this section over here to be long. Because once we actually put a clip onto our timeline and we highlight that clip, all of the tools that are available to us in Capcut are going to show on this right side. I like it being longer because I can see more of the tools when they come up, because it does extend down the page long, which means I don't have to scroll to see the tools down on the bottom, or I don't have to scroll as much. So that's why I like this particular workspace. But again, figure it out for yourself what works best for you. That's how you change it. All right, so when we come into Capcut itself, up along this left-hand side, this is where we have our media files that we add. And then there's also some stock media files that we could add if we're doing more complex edits. And I will show you this later on in the video. We can also add music to our video. We can add text to our video. Now we can choose default text, or we can choose from templates. Whatever we choose, we can edit everything. We can change the font. We can change the font size. We can change the font color, and so on down the line. We can then add stickers. This is probably something that you'd be more interested in if you're going to start trying to do YouTube videos or anything along that line. You can have the subscribe buttons. You can add different kind of gimmicky things to your video. Then we have effects, which is something that we can kind of add to like the beginning and end part of a video, right? If you wanted to have a certain effect as the video comes on, you could kind of give it like a glitchy effect, or it could zoom in, or it could do something along those lines, but you can add an effect to it. Transitions are a way of making the change between video clips more smooth, or give it some kind of softer transition, right? So if we have two video clips, there's going to be a line between those two clips. Now, if we were in a Hollywood movie, you would leave that line. That's referred to as a hard cut, and it would be noticeable when we go from one video clip to another. So what we can do is we can add a transition there, which kind of just softens that effect of going from one video clip to another video clip. And then we have captions, which we really won't use. This, again, is another thing you might use if you're producing videos for YouTube or other social media platforms. Just like it sounds, and just like if you think you're watching a movie and you want to see what the actors are saying, you can turn the captions on or off. And it's the same thing with video. You could turn this on and the video will produce captions in the words of what you're actually saying in the video. So you can add that visual component to your videos if you like. So that is what is set up here on the left side. It just gives us all the different things that we can add into a video that we are creating. Now I'm going to go to my media here, and I'm just going to add in this first, I'll do a talking head video here. I made this video specifically for this. I made a lot of mistakes, and it's basically set up so that we can kind of cut up the clip, and I'll show you how we cut up the clip. So first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to take a look at here's the window of our video, right? And we can see that we have some black bars on here because I have it set up for a 16:9 aspect ratio. If I go to the original aspect ratio, it should, and it's not because I just got to zoom in a little bit here, but there we go. So you can just use the scale tool over here to make sure that your video fits in the frame and fits that aspect ratio, and you don't have the black bars around the side. You can drag it left and right. You can do whatever you want, and then just make sure you don't have any black bars. And if you do, just scale it up a little bit more until the black bars are gone, and you can move it up or down as well. And so I might do something like this for the video. Okay, so that's all we're going to do here is look at this preview. If you wanted to see it in a full screen, we can expand it there by clicking that, and then we can just hit escape on our keyboard to return back to the Capcut editing software. Over here on the right side of Capcut, now that we have a clip on our timeline and that clip is selected or highlighted, we now have all the different tools that we can use. So we have video tools, and really what we do here is we can change the scale of our video. This is what we would do for our wildlife videos. We can change the scale, we can change the position, right? Moving the video left or right or up or down. That can be really handy sometimes, depending on what the animal is doing in our frame. The other thing that we'll use frequently here is the stabilize feature, because we often have at least some shakiness in our wildlife videos. And this is a great way just to smooth out those jitters and some of that shakiness. Just keep in mind that there's going to be a level of shakiness if it gets introduced into your video that even the stabilization won't be able to fully remove. So don't rely on that to think that you can handhold or have as much shake as you want in your videos, because the stabilization feature won't be able to fix everything. It is not a miracle worker, but that is a very good tool that works very well. And, it's something to keep there in the back of your mind. The other thing that I like to use underneath here is the reduce image noise feature. And this, again, we're fortunate with video because we're using much slower shutter speeds, right? We're usually using a shutter speed of 1/50 to maybe 1/250. So we're letting a lot more light into the camera in video compared to photography, especially in darker situations, which means we don't typically have to use ISOs that are as high in video as we do in photography. Maybe we'll go up to ISO 5000 or 6400. I really wouldn't go much more than that with my particular camera. You, of course, can experiment with your camera to see what kind of noise it produces in video as you go higher with your ISO. And that's a good test to do so you understand your camera's limitations. But having noise in your video can be reduced using this feature, and it works very, very well. So those are the things that I would use underneath this right here as far as the video editing. Now, if you're doing a talking head video like this, you could even go over here and do the retouch, right? So we could do some skin, fixes here if we wanted to. We could smooth out my skin a little bit, make me look, 10 years younger. We could do, smile lines, right? Do all those things, dark circles, stuff like that. Not stuff we're really going to be doing in, wildlife videos, but just showing you here. And then we get into more advanced features like masking, which works very similar to that in Lightroom, right? We can mask a certain part of the image and where we want the edits to be applied, and everything else will be left alone. We can do removal of backgrounds if we have special situations. Maybe you're filming on a green screen and you want to replace it with another background. So there's lots of things you can do. Those are all things that you can investigate on your own. But they're in here, right? So again, the basic tool is more about scaling, positioning, doing some stabilization, and also reducing some noise. We have audio controls here where we can change the volume. We can also use the vocal isolation feature. That's one that I like to use in this program. So if you're outside recording a video and you're talking in it, maybe you're doing something for wildlife videography and maybe you're adding a talking portion to it. Maybe doing like a voiceover, something like that. Whatever. If you have some kind of noise in the background, maybe the sound of a humming of a fan in the background or a little wind that's outside, this can be a great way to remove that and really isolate your vocal and bring that forward. We also have the ability to fade in or fade out, which, if you're adding some music to your wildlife video, which is always a great idea because it makes the viewing experience that much more pleasurable for the viewer. Fade in, fade out, right? Just is going to be how dramatic. Will the music start right away or will it slowly build in? Will the music end abruptly, or will you have a fade out where it slowly goes down and eventually turns off? And that's a great way to do it. Fade out is really something I use all the time. I really don't use the fade in. I don't mind if the music starts immediately. Usually with wildlife video clips, they're shorter in length, maybe a minute, maybe 30 seconds. That might be the type of clip that we're sharing online. I want the music to get right to it. And then it's okay if it fades out at the end, but I want it coming on strong. I want to really grab the viewer's attention. Voice changer is another big one that I use, and I really only use the bass boost. And it doesn't matter whether you're using a small lavalier mic that attaches to your shirt. or if you're using, like in the last video, I showed you the microphone that can attach to your camera's hot shoe, or if you're using a $400 microphone like this, which by the way is the Shure SM7B. This is used in all professional broadcasting pretty much. So a $400 microphone, you still need to do things to enhance the vocals on it, right? That's just the way it goes with every microphone. Yes, you will get a better sound initially from this microphone compared to those cheaper microphones, but it still needs a little something to bring the full richness and full tones of the microphone out in your production. Speed is another big one we use in wildlife videography, right? This is why I like to shoot in 60 frames per second and 120 frames per second, because it allows us to use, well, 60 frames per second, we can play it at normal speed or we can slow it up. 120 frames per second is already slow motion, but we can reduce the speed on it and make it even more slow motion. So this is what we would use here just to, move this slider down to the left to make our video more and more slow motion. So a great tool that we use here. Animation. This is a little bit more advanced if you're doing some YouTube videos or if you're creating some wildlife videos of your clips and you want to really up the production value of those videos. You can add some other clips to your timeline or add some other clips to your project. And when you bring those clips in, and you see this all the time in the YouTube videos that I present to you guys, right? When I add a picture of something other than me talking, anything I'm adding to that video typically comes in with a certain effect and it leaves the screen with a certain effect. This is how we do it. We have these tools right here that allow us to do that very easily, very quickly. And then we have the adjustment, and this is another big one that we will use. This is going to look a lot like Lightroom Classic or any other photo editing software that you're used to. It's all based on sliders, and we can change our exposure, our contrast, our highlights, our shadows, our whites, our blacks, and so on down the line. So it's going to be very easy to adjust to this. There's also more tabs up here underneath the adjustment, so we can target specific colors and we can change the hue, right? So if we want a slightly different shade of green or red or whatever color, we can move the hue slider. We can also change the saturation when we pinpoint these colors, and we can add more saturation or take some out. And then of course we can add or subtract brightness from each of those colors as well. We can then get into curves, which is a much more advanced feature. We have this in our photo editing programs. I really don't use the red, green, or blue, but you can use this one. And what you want to know about this is that the right side is the highlights, the left side is the shadows, and this is a way to fine tune our exposure. So we can just move this line. Generally speaking, an S curve is regarded as one of the best ways to handle your curves line. So if you kind of went up a little bit here on the highlights, and then came down a little bit here in the midtones, right? And then maybe came down a little bit more here with the shadows. We kind of create that S shape. And that, again, is regarded as a very general, a very good way of adjusting your curves values. That's good for most video situations. So we will just undo that. And then we have the color wheel, which is getting into more of color effects, right? Things that you can do to the shadows, midtones, and highlights to add color into the video. This starts to get really detailed to create a specific style that you might like. We're not going to get into that for what we're doing with wildlife videography. And then again, another masking feature. And the last thing up here is AI stuff that is completely irrelevant to our discussion in this, so we won't even jump in. And then this down here is called our timeline, okay? This is where we add our media, and this is where we do all of our editing. Now, what I would like you to know is if I add another, let me just add another video here to this. That's okay. What we can do here is between these two videos, right now we have two clips. There's two tools over here that can come in really handy. And I'm even going to add in another clip here on the timeline. This is a sound effect. Maybe what we want to have happen here is we want to move this second clip because we want to put something in between this clip and this clip to the left, right? So maybe what we do is we try to move it over to the right, but when we do and we let go, it snaps right back here to the clip before it. And the reason why that's happening is we have this tool checked, right? It's the main track magnet. So if we were to turn that off, we could then move this clip out and drop it wherever we want on the timeline, right? We could even put it up here if we wanted to. We could put it down here. We could put it down here if we wanted to, again, and put something in between, right? Maybe we want to put, this over here, and then we would bring this over here. And so we're going to go from a video to a sound effect to a video. We, of course, would never do that. But the point here is that with the magnet turned off, you can move this clip on this timeline, and it won't jump back to the left and try to attach to that video. The reason this can be really helpful is if it's off and maybe you're moving things around and you try to move this back and you think, okay, that's right on the clip here. And then you start to play back your video because you want to see it. All of a sudden you're going to be like, okay, watching your video. And then all of a sudden you're going to get a black spot. And oops, you didn't actually move it all the way back. That's a little bit of an error there. So having this magnet will ensure that you don't have any unwanted spaces or gaps there, and you won't have any of those black spaces. So as your video is playing, it will just transition into the next clip, right? And that's that hard cut that I was talking about earlier. We go from me talking to me walking away from you. That's a hard cut right there. All right, so that is the magnet. That'll just allow you to move things around on your timeline. Just be cautious about anything you move on your timeline so you don't get anything out of sync or, out of the timing that you want. The other option here is the auto snapping. So this is very similar to the magnet, except it has more to do with the lining up of items above and below your track. So maybe we want this clip right here to be lined up with a specific part of this clip, right? Maybe I'm talking about something and I want this sound effect to come in at a certain time. If I have this off, I can move this and fine tune its position very detailed, right? But if I have the snapping on, you're going to see when I get to the clip, see that green bar come up there on the screen? It's going to snap to that thing. So if I wanted it to meet exactly where these two clips meet, that's an area where it will snap. If I went to the beginning, you see I can snap it to the beginning. Now, if there was another cut in here somewhere, so if we just broke this video in two, I can make another snapping line right there. So there's different ways that we can do this snapping, and we can snap on the front of our clip or on the back of our clip. But it's just a way to move things and make sure that everything is in a good order. And then when we need that more precision, that more fine tuning of our clips, we can turn this off and make little adjustments to where we want to put that. Okay, so those are two tools that are very useful. I don't use the other two tools. We'll skip those for now. And then lastly, this is kind of a handy little tool. This will allow us to zoom in on our timeline. You can see the video getting longer, right? As I go to the right, as I go to the left, it gets smaller. And this will help us when we are trying to really precision cut information out of our videos. And I'll show you that in more detail in a second. The other thing I always like to do is come over here, and I like to click on these three dots, and I like to change my track height to tall. That's going to make this part taller. I also like to come in, click on the three dots, go to the auto waveform, and change that to 60%. And now what we can see is as I raise up the volume here, right, we can see what's going on with the video here of our clip. So I'm just going to go, it'll be a little bit easier to raise it here, and we're just going to raise that up. So now we can see the actual waveforms, and this is where it gets really helpful. If we use this tool that I just showed you, we can spread this out a little bit. Right now we can really get precision if maybe I said in this video, we can really narrow it down and cut that out and get rid of that or we can get rid of some extra dead air time, right? So we'll go through this in a little bit when I take a look at this video, but I just kind of want to throw this stuff at you real quick and get your mind thinking about it. All right, so lastly, the tools that we want to know for editing are pretty simple. We want to know if you're on a Mac, it's going to be Command B. If you're on a Windows computer, it'll be Control B. And then you want to know the letter A on your keyboard. Okay, those are all you need to know in order to clean up your video. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So I'm just going to take all this. I'm just going to delete this off the timeline for a second, and I'll bring back this talking head video. Okay, so what we're going to be doing here is I'm going to zoom in so we can see more of the voice and the video itself. Okay, and this is how you want to start every editing project. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether we're doing talking head, it doesn't matter whether we're doing wildlife videos, it doesn't matter. If you have wildlife video, the one thing that you may want to decide at this point is whether or not you want to keep the sounds of nature that are recorded through your camera. And now, if you have an external microphone on your camera, like the one I showed you in the last video, the Rode one or another brand, you may want to keep the sounds of, the nature if you have some good sounds. Otherwise, I wouldn't keep it if you're recording it with the camera itself, because it just won't sound good and it will be really difficult to make it sound good. But if you are using an external microphone, something additional to the camera, by all means, you can keep the sounds in there and you can always lower them, right? You can always lower them. And then they're available to you if you need them, and you can turn them off if you don't need them as you use that clip in different videos. So that's real simple. But what I'm going to do is I am going to keep the audio right now for this track just so I can show you how we would clean up the video. Now, if we were doing a wildlife video where maybe we're just watching a bird or an animal doing something, we don't have to really worry about the audio track. We would be looking at the video track, right? So as we're editing that, we're going to be watching the video, and the bird might be doing something really interesting. Maybe it's bathing, maybe it's eating. And so let's just say maybe we have a 3-minute clip of a bird and it's doing some interesting things for 30 seconds. And then all of a sudden, for the next minute, it's just standing there staring off. And you don't want that in your video, right? Because if you're having someone watch this video, they're going to get bored with just watching a bird sit there for a minute. So you could cut that part out, and then maybe the bird starts doing something interesting. Maybe they're moving on, a branch or a log, and they lose their balance and the wings go out, right? And birds do stuff like this all the time. So you might want that as part of your video. And then you're going to keep that. And then there's going to be other parts that you're going to cut out of your video. And what's going to happen is you're just going to cut it down until you get to the final clips that you really want. And some of that is going to be action. Some of it might be the bird standing there or the animal standing there looking around. Maybe they're even doing something a little interesting as they're looking around, right? Whatever the interesting parts of the video are, that's what you're going to be left with. But let's take a look at how we watch a video and how we get rid of parts that we don't want. Okay, I'm going to play the sound on this, and we're going to just see what happens here. Okay, so right off the rip, what we saw is that there was some dead space right in the beginning of the video. So I'm going to bring my playhead just before it starts, and I'm going to hit Command B on my computer. Now, what that does is it makes a cut line, and then I'm going to hit the letter A on my keyboard so that I have the select tool. Okay, and I'm going to click on that, and you can see that part to the left of my cut is now highlighted. All I'm going to do is hit the delete key on my keyboard to get rid of it. Okay, great. That dead space is gone. So now when we hit play, my voice is going to pretty much come on immediately. A lot of dead space there, right? So, hey, I'm thinking about what I want to say next. So we want to take out that dead space. This would be the same thing right now if we were doing a wildlife video where nothing interesting was happening, right? The animal's just standing there. We don't want to include that. People are going to get bored. So we're going to clean up our video to make it down to a little bit more interesting. And I think if I said right here, I say, okay, right? So another mistake. Okay, so I'm going to take out from after this part, right? And I'm going to leave just a little bit. I'm not going to go right up against the very last breath that I made. I'm going to give it just a little space. And then I'm going to hit my Control B to cut. Okay, and then I'm going to come over all the way over here. And again, I'm going to give it a little space because we want to try to keep some cadence there, right? It's not, I don't want the words running right into each other. And I'm going to hit Command B again. And I'm going to hit the letter A on my keyboard so I can get my select tool. And I'm going to select the clip that's in the area that we want to remove. It's highlighted. I'm now going to hit the delete key on my keyboard. And you can see because we have the magnet on over here, which we talked about earlier, everything shifted over to the left. Okay. Now, it's worth saying right now that this is what we call cutting our clip. This is our A roll. This is the main piece of video footage that we have, our main track or our A roll. And before you add anything else to your video, music, text, transitions, effects, before you do any of this, this is the first step you want to do because we are cutting the clip. So what's going to happen is we might start with a 10-minute clip. We might start with a 5-minute clip. But as we remove things, we're going to shorten that clip. And by the time we're said and done, maybe we're down to a minute and a half, right, of actual footage that we're going to use. If you add things above it, text, music, well, music, not so much, but more so text or other special effects, those are going to, and if you put them in a certain spot, as you cut the video, it's going to move where they're impacting the video. So everything is going to be thrown off. And you may want a certain effect at a certain spot of your video, but when you cut the video, that's going to change. It's going to throw it all out of whack. So don't add anything until you've gone through your video and cut it up to what part you actually want to use. And this is the exact process we're going through. It's Control B to cut, Control B to cut, the letter A to select the part we want to remove. We select it and we hit delete on our keyboard to get rid of it. We move on through the video editing process here. Now I said again, right? You don't need to remove every or everything like that because I do think that in the normal course of speaking, we will use an sometimes. And so I think that keeping a little bit of realism as to how we really talk in real life, I don't see any problem with that. So I wouldn't do that with every single that you have. It'll take your editing for hours if you're going to be doing something like this. And, it's just not necessary. So we're going to go on. We're going to have a little dead space here. So we're probably going to move some more from this. So we'll just do a Control B and Control B. We'll hit A on our keyboard. We'll highlight that area. We'll take that out. Okay, so we got more dead space again, right? So we're going to Control B this. We're going to take that out. And we're just going to keep working through our video like this. And then we have this dead space at the end. Now, if you remember, in the very beginning of the video, I had some dead space and I put a cut in, I hit A, selected it, and got rid of it. There's another way that I could have edited that part of it, and I'm going to show you how to do that on the back end of the video. So if you're editing something on the end of a video, I could just take the playhead to the end here. I could hit Control B, then I could hit A and select the end part of the clip, hit delete, and that would be gone. The other way that I can do that is we can always drag. You see how we have two arrows with a line in it? That means we're at the end of the clip. We've grabbed onto the end of the clip. So rather than just getting rid of that, I could drag this in to where we want it to stop, and that ends it. So that is another way that we could edit the ends of a clip, is just click them and drag them in to the point where we want it to stop. That's another option for you. You will see that there are a lot of different ways to get to the same thing when it comes to video editing. Okay, so let's just say hypothetically, that's our main clip. We have now gone through it and we've cut up the entire clip. Now, this clip is from my iPhone. And so we don't really have to do anything with color correction or color grading because the iPhone spits it out with processing. and it spits it out with sharpening and all of that stuff. So this is pretty much ready to go from, recording to posting online without much of an effort. But if we wanted to, we could click and drag and highlight all our clips, and then we can go to the adjustment, right? And we can do whatever. We can add some saturation if we want. We can add a little exposure. We can add a little contrast. We can take down the highlights a little. We can do whatever we want to edit those clips. We could also do that first. We could also color correct before we do all the cut up, and then that would be fine. And then we can just simply go through and cut up our video. The point here is that now we have our video all cut up. Now, if this was a wildlife video, we would have all the different clips of our animals. We would have the color correction done. It's ready to go if you want to post it like this. But what if you wanted to add some music to it, which is what I recommend you do? Well, the first thing that I would say to you is be very careful about where you get your music from. If you're using a product like Wondershare, Filmora, that has a subscription right inside of it, very cheap. It's a few dollars a month. I think it may be $8 a month, but you get access to their full stock footage and all their music tracks, and you don't have to worry about any copyright infringements. With Capcut, that is one concern, is their music library. Some songs you can add to your videos and post them online, and you won't have any problems because you're not in violation of any copyright issues. But many songs you are. And we don't know anyone that I've seen on YouTube or other users using this program, not sure how you tell which songs have copyright infringements and which songs don't, but you want to be very careful, because if you post something online and it's a copyright infringement, you can run into some legal issues. But let's just hypothetically say that you're using another service. Another great service you could use that's really cheap, it's like $6 or $7 a month, is a music source called Upbeat. You can subscribe to that, and they have music and sound effects that you can use in any of your videos. No copyright issues, no legal issues, and you can just simply click and drag it into your media here and then add it to your video. I'm just going to choose a song here so that we can see how this works. So we've got our video. Now we can add whatever we want to do to it. So what I would recommend is that you go through and add what you want to add. So let's say that we're going to do some music here, and we'll do morning happy background. This sounds good. And we've got this. Now you can see, right, the music isn't starting right away. What if I wanted the music to start right away, as I usually do with my wildlife videos? Well, I would click and drag this and bring it in, right? We just talked about that. And that's good. And then I would just move it over to the left so that it lines up with the left side. Now, the other thing that we'd have to do, well, this is a talking head video. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the talking head video, and I'm going to reduce the audio on all of those clips because we just want to hear the music. Then I'm going to take the music and I'm going to reduce that down just a little bit so it's just not so loud. Now you can reduce the music volume here, or you can come over here and reduce it by clicking this line. You just drag it up and down. When you have the up and down arrow, you are affecting the volume. Remember earlier I talked about fade in and fade out, right? We can make the music start gentle and end gentle, or it can stop and end abruptly. Here's the fade in and fade out. And if you look at the left side of this music clip down here, watch what happens when I drag the fade in. See that black line? That is the fade in. So the music will start more gradually. Now, if you didn't want to use the slider, you could come over here. You see how there's a little dot there? Once you get your cursor over the dot and you've got the left and right arrow, all you got to do is drag it to the right and you can create your own fade in. Same thing with fade out, except you'd get the double arrow and you would drag to the left, right? And that's how you can create those fades. Okay. So now we have the music here, and obviously we have the music going too long. So what we're going to do is one of two things. I could go over here and drag this right side all the way over to this end, right? Or I can just put my playhead at the end here, and I can hit my Command or Control B and cut it. Then I can hit A, highlight that, delete it out. We're good. Now, I do want to add a fade out. So we're going to go to that little dot that I was telling you about, double arrow, and I'm going to drag to the right so that we have a fade out. Okay, so this is what I'll just play it from the beginning, we'll stop it and then we'll go to the end. So this is how it's going to start. Okay, and so this is what would be going on in our video. Whatever, okay? And then we go to the end, and this is how it would sound as it fades out. And it's going to just slowly drift off, and it'll eventually come to an end. Right? And that's how we add some music to our track. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go back to our media now, and I kind of want to look at an actual wildlife clip, because now you know exactly how to cut up your footage. It's that simple. Control B or Command B, depending on what system you're on, the letter A to select the part you want to remove, and then the delete key on your keyboard to remove it. If you make a mistake, don't worry. You can hit Control Z on your keyboard to undo it, or you can delete the track completely off your timeline, and then go up to your media and put it back on your timeline, and you'll have the full clip there again. And you can start from scratch if you really got too deep with your mistakes. All right, let's take a look at an actual video clip. Now, if you'll remember in the last video when we were talking about capturing video coverage, I was talking to you about picture profiles. And I said to you, there are picture profiles in your camera that basically will allow you to record video and post it immediately, right? It adds a lot of processing with color correction and all those good things. Kind of like the iPhone video I was just showing you of me talking. And then there's picture profiles that require some level of editing. And then there's picture profiles where it's very flat, right? There's nothing going on. It looks really boring and bland. This is what it looks like. Okay, this is an S-Log picture profile that comes out of my Sony camera, where I got a lot of dynamic range, meaning I have a lot of tones from the brightest part to the darkest part of the image. But now we need to add some color. We need to add some oomph into it. Well, we can go to the adjustment panel, and we could do all this by hand using the sliders. But if you remember, I said to you in that video, I like to use a LUT. A LUT is essentially an editing preset that you can apply to your video clips when you're shooting in these flatter S-Log type profiles. And it makes your editing very easy, and it generally gets you anywhere between 80 to 100% of the way to your final product. So this was filmed a little bit early in the morning, so I know that this video is a little underexposed. So I know when I add this LUT, I'm going to have to tweak the exposure a little bit, and let's take a look at that. So let's just say that, I'll tell you what, let's first go through and cut up this video. This is a new video, right? Let's take a look. I like to kind of grab the playhead and scrub through the video a little bit. It's a little faster. So, okay, he's sitting there. He's going to fly over, and he's on this log now, and he's turning. Okay, video gets a little shaky there. So I'm going to back that up. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to cut it right there. Okay, and then I want the part to the left of the cut, so I'm not going to get rid of anything. I'm going to get rid of this right here. So he turns around. Video's a little shaky still, and right around there. So I'm going to hit B again, and now I'm going to hit A, and I'm going to select that part, and I'm going to hit delete because I want to get rid of it. Okay, now I'm going to just go back to where we were here and see what's going on. And he's not really doing too much, right? Kind of doing some boring things. All right, so maybe what we'll do is we'll cut out a little bit here. We'll get rid of that. And then maybe we'll come over here and say, okay, well, let's get rid of that end part. And this is our final clip. This is what we want for our final clip, okay? And I don't want the audio for this clip. So I'm just going to highlight all the clips. I'm going to right click, and I'm going to do extract audio. And you can see that it drops the audio down to its own line. And I'm going to select all the audio clips and hit delete and just get rid of them. That way I don't have to worry about any of the volume. So if we watch this clip, right, this is what we've got going on. He's moving, he's flying, he's standing on this log. You can see there's a little bit of shakiness to this video, right? And there's our hard cut as we go to the next clip. And all those things are going on. So let's highlight these clips and let's add our LUT. We're going to do the Sony S-Log 3 LUT. And as we can see, this is a little dark, as I said. So I'm going to increase the exposure. And I'm just going to get this to where I want. I might add just a little contrast and a little saturation as we increase the exposure. And I'm going to keep going up even a little higher. And something like that looks pretty darn good, I think. Right? So now we have our clip. So now we know the clip is a little bit shaky, right? So I'm going to go back to our video and I'm just going to click and drag out and down so that I can select all of the clips. And I'm going to add on stabilization. So I'm going to click on this and you can see that it's going through right now and it's applying the stabilization to these clips. And it will continue to do that until it obviously reaches 100%. And then once it's done, this is I always do the recommended level that it has. There is, if you drop that down, there is a strong level that you could go to, but I think it's strong. We can take a look at it once it's, okay. So there's minimum and most stable. So I typically stay with recommended. That works pretty good, but let's take a look at the footage now to see if we notice a difference in the stabilization. And so there he goes moving, right? And I think you can already see the difference here in the video with the stabilization. So you can see there's still a little bit there, right? I'm still moving the camera a little bit. It doesn't take out everything, but it does get rid of all those smaller shakes and wiggles that come in the camera. And this looks pretty good. I mean, for a wildlife video, I don't typically do a lot of video of birds standing still like this. So if you're doing that, it's going to be even more prevalent. But when you're doing video of moving, flying animals and birds and stuff like that, the shaking is far less noticeable because the camera's moving with your subject. So that did do a pretty good job, but that's how that would work. Okay, so now we've cut up our clip, we've edited the color, we've added some stabilization. What if we wanted to take this to the next level? What if we wanted to do a little bit more in the way of adding some of the cooler things, right? Maybe what we want to do is maybe we want just a quick clip of me walking here. This is what's called B-roll. Okay. So again, this is our main track. And if you remember, I said this is our A roll. And then anything that we add, any other video clips that we add to it to enhance the viewing experience is called B-roll. Now keep in mind that when we're editing, anything that we add above the main video will take priority. So I'm just going to take the volume off of this and I'm just going to make the clip a little bit shorter. And maybe I want it to come in, somewhere, I don't know, we'll snap it to that cut. Okay. So what's going to happen here is we're going to have something like this, right? We're going to be watching the bird. And then all of a sudden we're going to be cutting to me walking. This doesn't make sense, right? Because in the video, but this would obviously make sense in real life. You would be setting it up that way. So that's how we can just add a little bit of B-roll to our footage. And this is what we would do is we would go through and add the B-roll like this wherever we want it. We could add a video. We could add text, right? Maybe we want some text in the beginning of our video. Maybe we come down here. Now, when you drop this on the timeline, Capcut and any video editing software is going to automatically put it on another line for you. So don't worry about it. Everything is fine. It's done like that purposely. So don't worry about where it falls out. So what we're going to do here, right, is we've got this highlighted. We've got our text box highlighted. We're going to come over to our tools now. And what do we want it to say? Maybe we want it to say birds. Okay. And we can change our fonts to whatever we want. Maybe I'll choose the Vogue. The Vogue, and maybe we'll increase the font size to 30. And then what I can do is I can just come over here, click it, and drag it around the screen to wherever I want it. Okay, and I could even change the color. Maybe we want this to be green for some reason. Whatever, doesn't matter. Okay, and then over here, we can click and drag the end so we can have this on the screen for as long as we want it, right? So I might play this and see how long it stays up and see if that feels good to me or not, and I can lengthen it or shorten it accordingly. So here's what it's going to look like from the beginning of the video. Maybe I'll just bring it in a little bit. Maybe I'll move this over. We'll just say that this is going to come later on, and then we'll say that this is going to come shortly after the video starts. So here's what we're doing. We're coming on birds, right? And it won't have that white line around it, of course. You just got to click off the timeline to get the white lines off of it. So it says birds, right? That's going to play. That might be a little bit too long, so I might just shorten that up a little bit and then take another look at it. Birds, okay, and it's going to go play, and then it's going to go through, it's going to start playing, and then we're going to come to the B-roll of me walking through here, and it goes back to the birds. Okay, so once we've gone, now we've cut up our main track, our A-roll, and now we're going back and now we're adding all the little additional elements that we want. Well, maybe we want, let's see here, maybe we want to add our music in. So, or maybe let's do a sound effect. Let's go to our media and we'll do a sound effect. And usually sound effects kind of go hand in hand with something that's happening in the video. Let's just say, for instance, we wanted the sound effects of, I don't know, my footsteps or something. Now this is like a swoosh type of sound, but you can see this is where the snapping comes in handy, right? This tool that we talked about earlier. So if I wanted to line this up with this clip exactly, you can see that we got the green line here, right? It's snapping on the left-hand side. Then I can drag the right-hand side in until I get the green line on the right-hand side. That tells me that this is perfectly matched up with the clip up here, so that those two things will align. So let's hear what that sounds like as we do our sound effect. Again, the sound effect is going to be crap with this video clip, but you'll get the point. You would put a sound effect that makes sense. It would be footsteps or some other noise. But listen here. Right? Kind of as a swoosh as I enter into the thing. So those are different things that you can do. So you can line those up and it's like I'm flying into the scene. So that's how we could add some B-roll. We can add some sound effects. And now we could add our music in here, however you want to do it. And we could bring down the music volume so it's a little bit lower. And you would have this going on. And you can have multiple noises going on at once, right? But you can have your music and you can do all these different things. This is how you're going to kind of build, your video out, right? So here's the bird, right? This is where we did our hard cut there. Let's add a transition. And I always like the mix transition. We'll put that right on where those two videos meet. So this is two separate videos right here, right? But we got that mix transition right here. So this is what it would look like with the mix transition on. See how that was much more gentle? Let me undo that transition and we'll look at that hard cut again. There's the hard cut, right? I'm just going to play it one more time for you. It's going to go from this hard cut to the bird and it's very abrupt. So we add that mix transition in there and you can change how long it happens just by clicking and dragging out on it, or you can come over here and drag this to change the duration. I'll keep it at like 1 second and then we'll play this and a little, see, I love the mix because it just leaves like a little fade from the one clip into the next clip. See how professional that looks? So you want to be careful when you're editing video. It's the same as when you're editing photo. All new photo editors, all new video editors get wowed and get romanced by all the different effects and different things that you can do with the effects. And so they tend to really overdo it and they go crazy with them and it really cheapens up your photos or your video. So just use these with some discretion, right? Use some real good judgment on what you do. Remember, less is more. Go with the more subtle effects. It will really enhance and really make your videos more elegant. So these are all things that you can do to up the production value of your videos. Now, of course, if you're just doing wildlife videos and you just want the bird with some nice music and some good coloring, you guys have all the tools that you need to do that now. It's very, very simple. And you can really kind of just fly through, cut out the parts that you don't want in the video, get down to the ones you want, right? Get the good color on it, add some stabilization to your video if it needs it, and then add a little music and you're good to go. Don't forget to add your fade out on the music and little touches like that. That'll just really make it a little bit more professional, but you will be well on your way to creating some really professional videos. And then if you want to explore some of these additional effects, if you want to create more complex videos and up that production value, you will know how to do that now. This is very, very easy. Everything is right in front of you. Just you can either click on the clips or you can look to the tools on the right side of the screen. You can change your font colors. You can change the duration of these effects. You can do all of these different things. One last thing I'd kind of like to show you though is this video of me. I'm just going to take out the music and the swoosh for the distractions. Maybe we want this video when it comes in, right, to have some sort of effect. So we can animate this. I kind of want to show you this quick because this is a nice thing to do. So we go to the animation tab over here and we want to start with the in, right? So what do we want this clip to do on the way in? And so I'm just going to try to pick something real quick, and I'll just do the swoosh here. Okay. And if we go down to the bottom, we can see that we can control how long it takes for that swoosh to happen. 0.7 seconds is usually pretty good, but I'm going to go maybe up to 1 second just so we can really see that. Now, if we go over to our clip, what we see is this. I'm going to move the playhead so we can see it a little better. But if we zoom in, you see that little white line with the ball on the end? That is a signal to us that we have added an animation to this clip. So if you see that, just know you'll be able to tell where your animation is. Now, the other thing that I would do is I would go to the out part, and we'll just add the swoosh here. Okay. And again, we will, after adding the swoosh, we can change how long that happens. And I'm going to do 1 second here. Okay. So now what I want you to see is what this video looks like. It's not going to just be a hard cut to me walking in. Now this little B-roll footage that we added, it's going to have a little effect on the in and a little effect on the out. Let's watch this. So it's playing here, and here it comes in. See that little swoosh, right? That's pretty subtle, but it adds just a little bit more interest in the visual aspect. And then boom, it swooshes out and you get another little effect. Guys, this is Capcut. It's not overly difficult. It just requires, a little time using these tools. I'm telling you, you will figure it out really quickly. Just watch this video, stop it, rewind it, watch what you need to do. It's very, very easy, very, very simple, straightforward. And like I said, if you're just looking to edit your videos of your wildlife so that you can polish them up and make them look good, and just get to the good parts of the video and remove the dead parts or the boring parts, you now know how to do that. Guys, let me know if this video was helpful, what you thought of this video. Let me know in the comments. If there's anything else you'd like to see in Capcut, let me know, and I'll be happy to make some additional videos. Like I mentioned in the beginning, if you would like a video to see Wondershare Filmora, I can also make a video to kind of talk about that as well and how we would go about some of the editing aspects like we just did here in Capcut. If you, again, found this video helpful, please consider subscribing to the channel, like the video, comment on it. Everything you do like that really helps for this video to be seen by others. And if it helped you, then it can help someone else. So thank you so much, guys, for spending some time with me. I appreciate it so, so much. And I look forward to seeing you all in the next video. Good luck with your wildlife, and I'll see you soon.